Good morning, I'm Munira Zakir. Today I'll be performing a continuous program of 3 pieces. I'd like to begin with a passage of prose taken from the short story The Umbrella Man by Roald Dahl. I'm going to tell you about the funny thing that happened to my mother and me yesterday evening. I am 12 years old and I'm a girl. My mother is 34, but I'm nearly as tall as her already. Yesterday afternoon, my mother took me up to London to see the dentist. He found one hole, it was in the back too, and he filled it without hurting me too much. After that, we went to a cafe. I had a banana split, and my mother had a cup of coffee. By the time we got up to leave, it was about 6 o'clock. When we came out of the cafe, it had started to rain. "We must get a taxi," my mother said. We were wearing ordinary hats and coats, and it was raining quite hard. "Why don't we go back into the cafe and wait for it to stop?" I said. I wanted another of those banana splits. They were gorgeous. "It isn't going to stop," my mother said. "We must get home." We stood on the pavement in the rain looking for a taxi. Lots of them came by, but they all had passengers inside them. "I wish we had a car with a chauffeur," my mother said. Just then, a man came up to us. He was a small man and he was pretty old, probably 70 or more. He raised his hat politely and said to my mother, "Excuse me, I do hope you will excuse me." He had a fine white moustache and bushy white eyebrows and a wrinkly pink face. He was sheltering under an umbrella which he held high over his head. "Yes," my mother said, very cool and distant. "I wonder if I would ask a small favor of you," he said. "It is only a very small favor." I saw my mother looking at him suspiciously. She is a suspicious person. My mother, she is especially suspicious of 2 things: strange men and boiled eggs. When she cuts off the top of a boiled egg, she pokes around inside with a spoon as though expecting to find a mouse or something. With strange men, she has a golden rule, which says, the nicer the man seems to be, the more suspicious you must become. This little old man was particularly nice. He was polite. He was well spoken. He was well dressed. He was a real gentleman. I will now move on to the next task of reciting an extract from the poem The Pied Piper of Hamelin by Robert Browning. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first, a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Then, like a musical adept, to blow the pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame with salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered, and the muttering grew to a grumbling, and the grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling, and out of the houses the rats came tumbling. Great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, grey rats, tawny rats, grey old plodders, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who, stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Rutland home his commentary, which was, at the first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard the sound as of scraping tribe, and putting apples wondrous ripe into a cider presses grind, and a moving away of pickled up pots, and a leaving a jar of conserved cupboards, and a drawing the box of train oil flasks, and a breaking the hoops of butter casks, and it seemed as if a voice, sweeter than by harp or by psaltery's reed, called out, "O rats, rejoice! This world is grown to one vast dry psaltery. So, munch on, crunch on, take your nunchin, breakfast, supper, dinner, luncheon, and just as one bulky sugar punchin. Glorious cares like a great sunshine. Glorious cares, an inch before me. And just as we thought, it said, come, bore me. I found the Weser rolling over me. I will now move on to delivering the speech titled Time and Space, which was delivered by Lady Diana in the year 1993 on the 3rd of December. A year ago, I spoke of my desire to continue with my work unchanged. For the past year, I have continued as before. However, life and circumstances alter, and I hope you will forgive me if I use this opportunity to share with you my plans for the future, which now indeed have changed. When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did. I realized then the attention would inevitably focus on both our private and public lives. But I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become, nor the extent to which it would affect both my public duties and personal life in a manner that's been hard to bear. At the end of this year, when I've completed my diary of official engagements, I will be reducing the extent of public life I led so far. I attach great importance to my charity work and intend to focus on a smaller range of areas in the future. Over the next few months, I will be seeking a more suitable way of combining a meaningful public role with hopefully a more private life. My first priority will continue to be our children, William and Harry, who deserve as much love and care and attention as I am able to give, as well as an appreciation of the tradition into which they were born. I would also like to add that this decision has been reached with the full understanding of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, who have always shown me kindness and support. I hope you can find it in your hearts to understand and to give me the time and space that has been lacking in recent years. I couldn't stand here today and make this sort of a statement without acknowledging the heartfelt support I've been given by the public in general. Your love and generous affection has carried me through some of the most difficult periods, and always your love and care has eased that journey. And for that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will now move on to the next task of reading the prose passage, which is titled The Book of Dragons by Edith Nesbit. He happened to be building a palace when the news came, and he left all the bricks kicking about the floor for nose to clear up. But then the news was rather remarkable news. You see, there was a knock at the front door and voices talking downstairs, and Lionel thought it was the man come to see about the gas, which had not been allowed to be lighted since the day when Lionel made a swing by tying his skipping rope to the gas bracket. And then, quite suddenly, Nurse came in and said, "Master Lionel, dear, they've come to fetch you to go and be king." Then she made haste to change his smock and to wash his face and hands and brush his hair. And all the time she was doing it, Lionel kept wriggling and fidgeting and saying, "Oh, don't, nurse," and "I'm sure my ears are quite clean," or "Never mind my hair, it's all right," and "That'll do." "You've been behaving as if you were going to be an eel instead of a king," said Nurse. The minute Nurse let go for a moment, Lionel bolted off without waiting for his clean handkerchief, and in the drawing room there were two very grave-looking gentlemen in red robes with fur and gold bonnets with velvet sticking out of the middle like the cream in the very expensive jam tarts. They bowed low to Lionel, and the gravest one said, "Sire, your great-great-great-great-grandfather, the king of this country, is dead. And now you have to come and be king." "Yes, please, sir," said Lionel. "When does it begin?" "You will be crowned this afternoon," said the grave gentleman, who was not quite so grave-looking as the other. I will now move on to the reflection task and answer the questions. And I begin with question number 1. How successful do you think your performances were? What went well? I think my performances went very well. With regards to the prose passage, The Umbrella Man, the story is based in Uptown London, and I had to really work upon my articulation, pronunciation and diction. As well as the story has 3 voices. One of the narrator, who is a 12-year-old girl, so I had to really watch my pace and my pitch and my tone to justify the role of a 12-year-old girl. As for the mother, I took up a more mature tone. And the old man, although he has very few lines, I had to change my pitch and tone a bit to assert his character. Coming to the poem was one of the first pieces I had started memorizing, and the rhythm and rhyme in the poem made it easy for me to memorize it. And also the poem has a very strong imaginative power. So as I moved through the lines in the poem, I could create an imagery in front of my eyes. That's how I painted the narrator. Last but not the least, Lady Diana's speech. I had to use a lot of projection in my voice and emote speech like time and space in the same manner as she did. Moving on to the next question. Question number 3. How did you employ your voice or body to show key moments or dramatic development in one of your pieces? I would like to speak about the poem, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. I used a lot of inflection in my poem. So when I described the rats, like great rats, small rats, I used a lot of pace. I increased my pace and I raised my pitch for those lines. And when it came to explaining how old the rats were, so grey old plodders, I brought down my pitch and my pace to suit the lines. So I used most of the vocal and physical techniques in the poem. I now move on to the next question, which is question number 4. What happens either before or after one of the extracts from a piece you performed? With regards to this question, I would like to speak about the prose passage, The Umbrella Man. In this prose passage, once the mother has handed over the pound to the old man's demeanor changes, and instead of catching a taxi and going home, he starts walking fast. This is noticed by the 12-year-old girl. She brings it to the notice of the mother, and both of them follow the old man. They are astonished to see him go into a bar and slam the pound on the counter of the bar in exchange for a huge mug of beer, which he gulps down to the very last drop. After that, he gets up and he's out and about to swindle another person, but not before he has flicked another umbrella from the bar. And now he's going to go out there and swindle another person. So he was the perfect con man. I will now answer the last question, which is question number 6. Talk about the environment you imagined for one of your pieces and how that influenced your staging choices during your preparation. I would like to speak about the speech by Lady Diana, Time and Space. Lady Diana was addressing a huge audience, and in that audience were the press and the media. So she was diplomatically pleading to them to give her the time and space which every celebrity is entitled to. She had a lot of obligations towards the royal family, towards her children, towards the charity work she was doing. So, I had to emote as Lady Diana did, as well as imagine that kind of an audience in front of my eyes. I had to put myself into her shoes. And that's how I actually imagined the whole aura around me. So, that's how my performances were. Thank you.